In the starting of 2019, when Saudi Aramco released their financial statement, the whole world was shocked because they said that they have $5 trillion of valuation. Then people started thinking that they are joking because it is only an oil company. Then later in December 2019, they released their IPO, which became the world's biggest share offering ever, with valuation of $2 trillion. So let's start the success journey of Saudi Aramco and how it became failure company to most valuable company in the world. Saudi Aramco journey begins in 1933 when a concession agreement was signed between Saudi Arabia and the Standard Oil Company of California. Then, Arabian Standard Oil Company was created to manage the agreement. In 1934, a small group of scientists, geologists, archaeologists and few workers goes to eastern Saudi Arabia for mapping and survey. At that place, there was no vegetation instead of sand. Then in Dhahran 1936, after a few months later of survey, their results were positive. Then they brought transport vehicles and drilling machines. Then they decided to drill down to see what was down there. Then the first test well, known as well number 1, is drilled into Damam Dome. Then first sign of oil was seen there, but it was not enough. But this droplet of oils created hope in their minds. After years of hard work, 10 wells were drilled, but no oil was there. Number 1 produces mostly gas, number 2 produces more water than oil, number 3 and 4 were almost dried. In number 7, the oil was present for few times, but now nothing. Then a tragedy happened there, the tank reservoir of number 7 blew out in a New Year Eve. Now their only hope was blew up with fire. Then in 1937, Chief Geologist Max Steinig came there in Saudi Arabia for survey and found that this land of Dhahran is very rich in oil. Then in 1938, after a few months later, mysteriously the oil started to coming up from well number 7 in high quantity. Then after, this is named as Prosperity Well. Now they were able to use and sell oil in commercial purpose. Then in 1949, their crude oil production hits 500,000 barrels. In 1950, there is rapid increase in oil production, so they built 1,212 km Trans-Arabian pipeline, the longest in the world. This pipeline linked eastern Saudi Arabia to Mediterranean Sea, thus sharply cutting the time and cost of exporting oil to Europe. After 2 years of exploration in shallow Arabian Gulf, they discovered Safania field in 1951. This is the world's largest offshore oil field with 50 billion barrels reserve estimated. In 1958, crude oil production exceeded 1 million barrels in a year. By 1962, they reached another milestone with cumulative crude oil production reaching 5 billion barrels. In 1971, record shipment from Ras Noura surpassed 1 billion barrels per year. In 1970s, Aramco proved themselves as an economic force for Saudi Arabia. In 1973, Saudi government bought 25% stake of Aramco, increasing its stakes to 60%. By 1980, it had completed its nationalization, means whole company belongs to Saudi government. In 1988, they changed their name to Saudi Arabian Oil Company, which is also known as Aramco, under leadership of Saudi President and CEO Ali Al-Nimi. Later it brought up references across North America and all through Asia. In 1991, they purchased 35% stakes in Ssangyong Oil Refining Company of South Korea. In 1994, they acquired 40% interest in Petrol Corporation of Philippines. In 1995, they purchased 50% Halles of England and others like Corinth Refineries, Avinoil Industries Commercial and Maritime Oil Company. The major change took place, that is rise of Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, known as Mr. Everything. In 2016, Mohammed bin Salman released his Vision 2030. Then later, Prince Mohammed bin Salman shared announcement of IPO, Vision 2030. The Vision 2030 refers the move by Saudi Arabia to get away from oil, diversify income, privatize economy, increase employment, and increase Saudi's economy. To increase all this requirement, they need thousands of billion dollars to build required resources like infrastructure. Then Prince Salman reveals that they have valuation over $2 trillion. So many people were shocked. Some said that its value is $1.7 trillion, some said $1 trillion, and some said only $400 billion. The IPO for Aramco was releasing soon in the end of 2018, but its IPO has seriously been scaled back because of the murder of journalist Jamal Khashoggi. So many people started marching in the position of Prince Salman because according to them he murdered Jamal Khashoggi, but later he refused for that. Later in 2019, a twin attack at the night with drones on two major Saudi oil facilities, one of them the largest in the world. This attack cuts the world's oil supply by about 5% and creates billions of dollars loss for Aramco. So that's why the IPO was not launched at that time. Next problem was the price of the oil was going low because of the slowdown in the global economy. Then they decided to remake the plan to get the company again public by the end of 2019. They do IPO because they researched that in around 2030 there will be less demand of oil. This is by the increase of go green methods, like mostly equipment, machineries will be run by electricity or other methods rather than oil. This can wipe out all the Saudis' fortune. Saudi Aramco cannot continue growing its oil production forever. That means lower revenue in the future, oil will be at lower prices. That means lower profit. So they have to increase their economic sources other than oil. This needs huge amount of money to increase capital sources. That's why they want to do IPO. Later in December 2019, finally Aramco's IPO launched. But at this time, they had to pay a sacrifice for it by offering 1.5% shares of company at IPO. After pricing at high end of the valuation, the IPO raised $29.4 billion, beating the record $25 billion of Alibaba's in 2014. This was the greatest IPO ever. Then in 25 December 2019, Aramco agreed to acquire a 20% stake in Reliance Industries. The deal between them is of $15 billion. Thanks for watching this video, hope you enjoyed it. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give us like. And please comment on which topic should I ask to make the next video on.